there, I'm Lori, and if you're the spouse or partner of an autistic adult, this message is for you. I'm a certified neurodiverse couples therapist, and I'm also someone who has lived experience of being in relationship with a loved one with autism. And I have developed a supportive course and a framework to help you experience more ease and more fulfillment and more care for yourself and care for your loved one within your neurodiverse mixed neurotype relationship. My course is called Becoming Twice Compassionate, and it centers around this concept that I call twice compassion, which is compassion that flows in two directions. It's compassion that flows toward yourself, self-compassion, and it's also compassion that flows toward your autistic partner, what I call autism-compassion. And these two types of compassion really can work together and reinforce each other in ways that bring so much more lightness, levity, more space for you to find your way in your relationship and to make sure that you kind of stay grounded in yourself and stay grounded in your own experience while also being loving and compassionate as a partner. When we bring these two kinds of compassion into balance, compassion for ourselves and compassion for someone with autism, we really can find that our compassion just keeps expanding in all kinds of different directions that help us to accept ourselves and support ourselves at the same time that we are accepting and supporting someone with autism, in this case, a partner who is autistic. So in our framework, we run through practices in the form of guided meditation. We also have time for self-reflection through brief journaling prompts and other kind of brief written reflection prompts. We have group discussion with people who get it, who have lived similar experiences and can relate to you. And those three different types of sort of engaging with our content all come together throughout our process. And so we spend the first part of our process really focusing in on developing self-compassion. We need to start there and make sure that we're treating ourselves with compassion and we understand compassion from that experience of really feeling it and feeling our ability to receive it from ourselves. And then after we've built up that foundation, we move on to developing autism compassion and making sure we're bringing self-compassion alongside that as we do it. So to take a little closer look at each one, with self-compassion, we look at what Krista Neff has called both tender self-compassion and fierce self-compassion. I kind of love the word fierce. I mean, tender is a great word too, right? So with tender self-compassion, the focus is really on, can we soften toward ourselves in a moment where we're really feeling lonely or isolated in our relationship? Can we turn toward ourselves like, as a tender friend or a tender parent figure would do, and just say like, yes, this is hard, honey, I get it. It's hard. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel what you're feeling. And maybe you want to take a bath, or maybe you want to take a walk around the block, or maybe you want to call a good friend. Like that's what tender self-compassion sounds like. So we'll spend some time developing our understanding of that and playing with it, through, like I said, both guided meditation and some journaling and some group discussion. Then we will look at fierce self-compassion, and that is another way of being self-compassionate. And instead of it sounding sort of like soft and gentle, it's really about using self-compassion as a way of orienting ourselves to self-protection and self-nurture. Krista Neff calls to mind the image of a mama bear, right, who can be really fierce in order to protect her young. And so when we talk about fierce self-compassion, we're being mama bear to ourselves. We're saying, okay, what is it that you need? What is it that can't come into your space? What is it that you need to do to protect your energy? What is it that you need to do to nourish yourself and take good care of yourself? And how can understanding that and kind of feeling nurturing toward yourself help you say no to things, or help you give yourself permission to carve out space in your relationship and in your life in general to really mobilize on those things that you might know that you might already know you need to do, or that you might discover that you need to do for yourself. So that's a quick overview of some of our framework of what we'll talk about regarding self-compassion. And then when we move into autism compassion, we're going to look at kind of two parts to that. We're going to look at just autistic experience in the world in general, and some of what can be really painful and challenging about that for people, and let ourselves be moved by some of that suffering and those challenges, and just think about it really broadly, like what it's like to be autistic in a world that doesn't make a lot of room or hold a lot of understanding for people who are neurodivergent. And then after we've kind of spent some time there, we will look more specifically at autistic folks in mixed neurotype relationships and what tends to be kind of painful or challenging within those relationships, and start to hold some compassion or build more compassion. Perhaps you already have a foundation in that for yourself, for really thinking through what is it that your partner finds painful about being in relationship with you, and can you hold and care for yourself and honor what's hard for you, and bring that alongside what's hard or what's challenging for your partner. And then we kind of do all these types of compassion within this larger awareness that a lot of what can be difficult about mixed neurotype relationships between someone who's autistic and someone who's not is in part the fact that our world has kind of has failed all of us who are in these mixed neurotype relationships, because we don't get a lot of support or resources, and I think that's constantly changing. It's changing all the time, and yet there's still so far to go. And so a lot of what's hard and painful for everybody has to do with these ways our world and our society, our culture hasn't paid adequate attention to neurological differences, and hasn't found ways to sort of talk about that and relate across neurological difference at this larger level. And so that ends up kind of playing out in terms of making our lived day-to-day experiences more difficult than they would be if we lived in a world that was different and had figured more of this out and was talking about neurodiversity more of the time in more ways that are affirming and helpful and validating. So there are a lot of folks who I think are working toward a world that will look more like that. And personally, I hope I'm a small part of that movement, and really you are part of that movement just by watching this video, and especially if you join with us and join in these conversations and really give some thought to this twice compassion concept. You are a part of making the world a different place, and a place where more of us have knowledge and more of us have built tools and awareness together about how to navigate these relationships in ways that feel good and feel nurturing for everybody, and that really hold a lot of self-acceptance and a lot of other acceptance of difference, all that good stuff. So hopefully this gives you a little bit more of a window into what our Twice Compassionate supportive course is all about. I would love to see you there. I would love to walk alongside you as you cultivate more self-compassion and more autism compassion. It's a journey I've been on for a while. It's personally been really transformative for me. I feel my heart kind of swelling in my chest as I say that. And it's also something I'll keep working on my whole life, right? Because it's not a destination, it's something we keep learning and relearning. And so I'm looking forward to not only sharing, this information, this framework, these practices with you, but also working together with you to keep kind of like building my own understanding and my own practice of what I consider, these forms of compassion that I hope will be lifelong. Things I try to move toward and be intentional about throughout my whole existence. So be good to yourself, whether you join our course or not. I hope you can find some compassion for yourself today in this moment, and I'm sending lots of compassion your way.